Hi guys, Jessica here from the Healing Hands Duo. I just wanted to jump on here really quickly. This is going to be a very informal video. I've been trying to do some of these videos actually on Instagram as of late, and that's why you haven't seen me upload anything to YouTube in a very long time. So if you guys wanted to check out some of those videos, the reason why I've decided to kind of sway away from YouTube a little bit as of late is just because of everything that's going on. There has been a lot of censorship right across the board.
From up here, the world seems small. We can sit.
So I haven't been posting my videos here just because, to be quite frank, I try to leave this channel more or less open to discussing health and wellness as it pertains to Lyme disease and Crohn's disease, as well as all the things that we've done to get well again. However, my channel is going to be taking a little bit of a turn here probably, or Kevin and I think are deciding to probably break off from YouTube and maybe go over to a freedom platform such as BitChute or something along those lines, or Band TV or something along those lines, to discuss some of the other things that we want to talk about when it comes to things like the telecommunications industries and EMFs. The reason why I want to quickly come on here is to let you guys know that if you are interested in some of those videos, if you guys scroll over to the community tab on my YouTube channel, I do post a lot of those things there, or those videos there, or you guys can follow me on Instagram. I will put that down below here, and you guys can check out my last 2 or 3 videos there, or you could even check out some of my videos that I've been posting to, or where I stand on everything that's happening in the world right now on my Facebook page, or even on Twitter, but I tend to be the most active on Facebook, and then I've been posting quite a bit recently on Instagram. Anyway guys, the reason why I really did need to jump on here right now is because I'm still working on meditations and all that stuff and trying to get that out, and I'm hoping to get that done here in the next week or so, but I've had some things come up in my own family that I've been trying to deal with, and on top of it all, I am trying to help out with with another woman that reached out to me a while back about a campaign against 5G here in Canada. Again guys, they started the campaign already, and that should be out in the next couple of days. If you haven't been following me on Facebook and Instagram, I talk about it there. But there is a petition that's currently out to try and pull legislation to pull 5G towers away from our schools and our playgrounds. And at some point, we're hoping to at least pull those away from the residential areas. Again, guys, in order for any of this for them to do anything about this, we are going to need 100,000 signatures at bare minimum, and they need to be Canadian citizen signatures. So again, guys, I'm reaching out to you, and I am asking you all to go and check that out. I will link to the petition down below, so if you can really give us your signature, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you are not a Canadian citizen, I will post to another petition that again, I don't know how creditable this petition is specifically, but every little bit counts. I am really looking, however, at this point to pull together as much Canadian citizens as possible to sign the petition that we have to pull these towers away from our school areas. So again, I will link to that down below. And if you don't see it there because of whatever's happening, I know there's a lot of censorship when it comes to 5G and all that stuff across the board right now, then it will be on my Instagram page. However, I do want to put it out there. I am very upset about this. I've actually, the campaign, one of the women that I've been talking to that's dealing with the campaign that is going to be coming out here shortly has just reached out to me and said that the Globe and Mail here in Canada, as well as Tri-City News, has gone ahead and given us some negative press against trying to put this petition out. So again, as usual, anything that has any significance right now that they're trying to claim that we're conspiracy theorists, I will tell you that we are not conspiracy theorists, and we do have this the information that is put into that petition, as well as the campaign, has all been backed up by science. Actually, we did reach out to people. The campaign leader, actually, her name is Patricia, did in fact reach out to Magda Havis and to Frank Clegg, as well as Dr. Anthony Miller, and they're very upset by that, because a lot of this information has been brought by them, and they all have been doing this for a very long time, and they are considered experts in electrosmog and the EMF pollution realms.
Well, good afternoon. I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us this afternoon. My name is Frank Clegg, and I'm the CEO of Canadians for Safe Technology. I've worked in the technology sector my whole career, including 14 years as the president of Microsoft Canada. For For the past 5 years, I've volunteered with C4ST, working with all levels of government to create healthier communities across Canada. We do this by presenting to them the latest science about the health effects of microwave radiation from wireless devices. When I started in this business, almost no one outside the military was exposed to microwave radiation. Today, almost everyone is affected, and from the moment of conception onwards. I'm here to introduce you to an expert panel, including a doctor and scientists, who have a warning about the coming health conditions that are predicted to rise if we blindly accept the next generation of 5G wireless technology. We are joining scientific researchers in 41 other countries, including the US and the UK, who are warning that 5G is going to pose a massive public health risk. It's not been made clear to the public that 5G won't just be another number and letter on your cell phone. It requires an entirely new infrastructure of thousands of small cellular antennas to be erected throughout cities where it's going to be installed. All of our speakers today have delivered expert testimony to the Parliamentary Health Committee in Ottawa on the subject of wireless radiation and human health. But so far, the only public discourse on 5G has been whether we should let a Chinese company install it or not. Today, we are here to change the conversation to the predictable and probable health risks that 5G wireless is likely to bring.
So I just actually wanted to read off who Magda Havas is, and right after this I'm going to actually include a video clip that she did on EHS sensitive individuals a few years back, and how she did get some miraculous results by removing EMF, high EMF from the home. Again, this does nothing to do with 5G, just has to do with EMF, but you can only imagine with 5G coming, that the problem with 5G is that people don't realize is that 5G is not going to be just one thing, and depending on the towers that may be in your area, it may emit anywhere from 10 times to 100 times more radiation than what we're experiencing now. And yes, that is non-ionizing radiation. However, there is a lot of studies, and I will post some things down below showing that this type of radiation, these types of scalar waves, are in fact detrimental to human life as well as all biological life, really, for that matter. So again, guys, what Kevin and I do is we do EMF remediation and mitigation. And as you guys know, we already are working with Blushield, and we're affiliates for that company as well. And this is a scalar device that helps to protect you against this electrosmog. There is just so much that Kevin and I have talked about this in the years with people about how what I truly believe this does to the body is it causes these rouleau formations, as you'll see in Magda Havas's video. And what that does from there is when the red blood cells go into these rouleau formations, unfortunately the blood is not able to uptake oxygen properly or carry carbon dioxide away from the body. And in that case, you would see these kinds of rouleau formations in people who have cancer. So that just goes to show you that what I believe EMFs do at a high amount, like that might be coming off of something like 5G, depending on, of course, which frequency is being broadcast in your particular area. I believe what it causes is something called a cytokine storm, and a cytokine storm is really when there's just mass inflammation right across the immune system, and that the immune system does not know how to deal with this overabundance of this inflammation. I personally think that that is what is happening, and I think right now that there's at least enough circumstantial evidence to support the fact that, number one, we already know that EMFs are harmful to biological life. There is no doubt about that at this point. There is enough science to show that this does cause biological harm. So I think with what we have now with 4G, 3G, and we are going up, which most people think we're just going up one generation. It is not one generation. Like I said before, it could be anywhere from 10 times to 100 times worse than what we have right now. Again, I don't know how much of this is going to be censored or whatnot, because they're censoring quite a bit. And of course, I'm not mentioning anything. I'm just specifically talking from the standpoint of being or working with my husband, who is an electrical engineer and has looked into doing EMF mitigation and remediation and is an EMF specialist. So I just want to read off specifically here Magda Havas. If you guys wanted to look into the others, I will point to their credentials down below, Dr. Anthony Miller as well as Frank Clegg. But I just happen to have Magda's website here, just because I've been talking to her directly myself as well. I had actually reached out to her a while back and asked her to send me over some of her research and some of the studies that she has done. So she was nice enough to go ahead and do that. So I just want you guys to realize that the people that we are dealing with here are professionals in this particular area. These are not conspiracy theorists as they want you to believe. Let me just read this off, and you can decipher the information and you can make up your own mind. But again, guys, if you have any doubts about 5G, and that's the other thing about 5G, is that, you know, the people that are involved and trying to put a stop to some of this, we're not anti-technology. Like I said, my husband's an electrical engineering technologist. He helps to build technology. What we are against is technology that could be harmful to biological life. Is it to say that, you know, 5G is going to cause mass deaths or anything like that? That's not at all what we're saying. What we're saying at this point is that, yes, there's enough circumstantial evidence to support that it does cause harm, as well as the fact that there hasn't been any safety studies done on this technology. At this point, we are basically demanding that we want some safety studies, and we want it to have full disclosure. Again, you know, I would really argue who this benefits. I know they say that, you know, this is going to benefit all of us because we're going to have super and fast download speeds and all that. But really, does anybody really care about that at this point, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now? I would also argue how it is somewhat insane that there have been tons and tons of companies, middle-sized and small businesses, been shut down everywhere across the globe at this point due to the other situation that's happening in the world right now, which I'm not going to discuss here right now. But yet the only thing that seems to have been essential was the telecommunications industries, because I know that now that we've been at home, I've been at home personally myself for a month or two, they have been out there and they've been working around the clock to get these 5G towers installed pretty much all across Canada, as well as the United States of America, and really across the globe. So really, that seems a little fishy to me as well. Like, why are we doing that? And honestly, at this point, I think we need to be in the loop about what's going on in our environment. I think it is the government's responsibility to let us know and tell us what they are putting up in our communities at this point.
Parents outraged tonight after a fourth child is diagnosed with cancer at a San Joaquin elementary school. And parents believe it's because of radiation caused by a cell tower at the school.
News tonight, CBS 13's Jen McGraw is live in Ripon with what the school is now saying. Jen?
Yeah, it's become such a point of contention that more than 200 students stayed home from school yesterday in protest, and their parents went before the school board demanding answers and that they take precaution. Cell phone towers are spread throughout the community, but it's this particular one that parents say
usually tell us it's 100% environmental, the type of tumor he has.
Monica Ferruli's son Mason was the second child to be diagnosed with cancer in just 3 years at Weston Elementary. He was 10 years old and walked by this cell phone tower daily.
It's undescribable. It's really tough.
That's one of the hardest things I've been through.
Joe Prime's son Kyle was the first, diagnosed with kidney cancer in 2016, and 2 more kids were diagnosed this year.
We need to also demand that there are some safety studies done on this before we release this on the entire population or all of our Canadian citizens, especially around our children, guys. So that's where we are starting. We are starting with the kids first because, of course, their immune systems are going to be slightly underdeveloped in comparison to adults. And, of course, their skulls are going to be thinner, so they're going to be more susceptible to this EMF radiation. So, again, let me get through to just reading who Magda Havas is, and then I will cut through to one of her clips. I'll probably include the entire clip. I don't think she's going to mind at this point. It is to support the campaign as well as the petition. And again, guys, please, 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 I really, really need your help now. We really need your help now. That petition will be linked down below. Even if you're not a Canadian citizen, unfortunately, you can't sign that one in particular, but you can sign the other one. And if not, if you do know anyone in Canada, please reach out to them and please get them to sign this petition as well. Or even share this video with them and let them know about the dangers of EMF. Of course, I will include a bunch of information down below as well as to, you know, some things that you can maybe do, as well as a blog that I had done in the past on what you can do to help yourself currently with the current threat of EMF in your home, as well as to prepare for things like 5G. She does research on biological effects of non-ionizing frequencies in the electromagnetic spectrum. This includes extremely low frequency ELF, EMFs, intermediate frequency IF, commonly referred to as dirty electricity, radio frequency and microwave radiation, EMR, infrared radiation, IR, and light frequency, including ultraviolet UV radiation. She has worked with human subjects and also studies the effect of various frequencies on plants, bees, farm animals, and microbes. She has received her PhD from the University of Toronto, completed postdoctoral research at Cornell University, and taught at both the University of Toronto and Trent University in Peterborough, Canada. The focus of her early research was on chemical contaminants, air pollution in the form of acid rain and water quality, and their effects on human health and on the environment. In the mid-1990s, she became interested in the biological effects of electromagnetic pollution, electrosmog, which you commonly hear me refer to it that way, and began to work with people who had electrohypersensitivity, which is abbreviated to EHS, which is an intolerance of various electromagnetic frequencies commonly found in the environment generated by anthropogenic sources. And that is what I have, or I believe I have, because I tend to be very, very sensitive to electrosmog. Her research at Trent is a blend of historical studies and current research from around the world related to electrosmog. She is particularly interested in determining how to objectively diagnose EHS and to provide this information to doctors and others in the healthcare profession. She is also interested in helping those with EHS begin to recover and improve their health. And her ultimate aim is to provide information to the public and to professionals in other fields of research about the harmful effects of electrosmog at levels currently experienced in the environment. So this is currently experienced in our environment. We're not even talking about how much worse 5G is going to be here. And even the video that I'm going to post right after this is referring to what we currently have and not what is to come. She says here, I am particularly concerned about exposure of pregnant women and children, and I've said this in the past. I think children and pregnant women should be avoiding all Wi-Fi as well as cellular devices or cordless devices at all costs. And if you are pregnant, there are EMF shields that you can buy to wear around your belly, and that's something I would strongly suggest coming up here in the next couple of months. She says here, our use of wireless technology is not going to stop, and it is essential that each and every one of us learns how to use it as safely as possible. It is also essential that governments regulate this industry and related industries to protect public health and the health of the environment. We all need to make informed decisions on how to use modern electromagnetic technology effectively and safely. She tries to simplify this complicated science for her university students and her present and worldwide to the layperson and professional in a format that is easy to comprehend. While this website is focused, and this is her website here that I'm talking about, while this website is focused on the harmful effects of electrosmog, a related website, which is www.theroselab.com, provides information about the beneficial effects of electromagnetic therapies. She says here, I believe that we are now entering a new paradigm in healthcare where light and magnetic fields that emulate nature can be used as complementary therapies to successfully treat a wide variety of serious chronic health conditions free of unwanted side effects. We are electromagnetic beings, or as some would say, beings of light. Consequently, we respond to external sources of electromagnetic frequencies in a variety of ways that can either be beneficial or harmful to human health. And as you guys all know, that's what we do here out of our studio as well. We run a device that is called the Supersonophoton Genius and the Genie, and that of course delves into electromedicine as well as light therapy and frequency therapies using noble gases. So that's another story altogether. We do have a video on our channel about that. This is primarily to try and get the word out about of course, signing this petition. I really need help at this point to get you guys to try and sign this petition, and I just wanted to put it out there because anybody, at this point, anybody that tries to speak up against any of this is classified and deemed a conspiracy theorist, and that is just ridiculous. Anyway, guys, if you guys can pass this video along and share it, we're like as far as you possibly can. Even if you're not a Canadian citizen, that would be great. Maybe you guys will learn something new from watching the next little bit here, and at least then that way you guys will be getting informed and you can look at ways to possibly protect yourself and your family.
Thank you very much. It's a real honor for me to be here and to address this audience. I'm going to be talking about electrosmog, which I believe is the missing link when it comes to a lot of chronic illnesses, including cancers, reproductive problems. But I'm going to limit my talk today just to electrohypersensitivity because it's something that's not well understood in North America. Electrohypersensitivity, I had originally, is an emerging health issue. I think it's actually emerged. It's really quite serious. And I use the acronym EHS, and I realized in this audience, EHS means something quite different. So EHS, when I use it, is electrohypersensitivity, and we could certainly use National Institute of Electrohypersensitivity. When it comes to non-ionizing electromagnetic fields, it falls into 4 different categories: low-frequency electromagnetic fields and radio-frequency microwaves. And I went to the NIEH website and found that you do actually have information on both of those. But there's other parts of the spectrum that need to be looked at as well. Intermediate frequencies is a very serious one. So is ground current in certain parts of the United States. And I'm going to be introducing some of these as well. Our exposure to wireless technology and electrosmog has increased dramatically. These are the different places in the United States that used Wi-Fi back in 2002, mostly research labs and universities. Within 10 years, this is what the map looks like, and it's getting worse. So our exposure to this radiation is increasing quite dramatically, and it's not only Wi-Fi. When I did my research, I didn't realize that there were actually more cell phones in the United States than the population. And you couldn't have said that 10 years ago. I also looked at the NIEHS website on electromagnetic fields to find out what was available and came up with absolutely nothing. So this illness, which I think is incredibly important, this pollutant, which I think is incredibly important, is really being ignored by a lot of federal agencies here in the United States and also in my country and Canada. In 2004, I attended a meeting of the World Health Organization. They had a special workshop on electrohypersensitivity, and they said EHS is a real and debilitating problem, and it occurs at levels well below our guidelines. The guidelines in North America are based on a heating effect, nothing else. They're absolutely out of date. The symptoms of EHS affect all of our organs and tissues. They induce inflammation, as Bill just said. They affect the nervous system, the cardiovascular system, the skin, the eyes, digestion, all of those. And I'm just going to pick 4 examples that I'd like to share with you in this very brief presentation. So I'm going to present 4 case studies and a form of electromagnetic pollution that affects them. This is all my own research. It's all been published. It's all been peer-reviewed, and I'd be happy to provide references to anyone who might be interested in this. And I'm going to start with multiple sclerosis. A few years ago, I started working with people who have multiple sclerosis to find out if we reduce the electrosmog in their home, whether or not their symptoms would recover, thinking that the nervous system is electromagnetic, our exposure is electromagnetic. And I was getting such amazing results that I thought no one is going to believe the results. Indeed, I actually thought it was a placebo effect, and I thought, my God, this placebo effect is very powerful. So I started videotaping the people I work with. This is a 40-year-old woman who has secondary progressive MS. I went to her home back in 2004, and I asked her to hold her hands out. She is really very debilitated by the MS. And this is trying to hold her hands straight. So she can't feed herself. She can't go to the bathroom by herself. We cleaned up something in her home that I call Agent X, and 6 weeks later, these were her symptoms. She hadn't changed any of the medication she was on, and we were getting this type of response, in some cases within a couple of days, and in some cases within a couple of weeks. Agent X happens to be intermediate frequencies. So we didn't get rid of the radio frequency in our home, we didn't get rid of low magnetic fields, we actually got rid of intermediate frequencies that are in the kilohertz range, so thousands of cycles per second. And the main culprit in her home was a plasma TV. Plasma TVs are notorious for this. They can be resolved by simply putting in a filter in the TV set that reduces this frequency, but because so few people recognize that it's biologically active, there's no regulations to ensure that this is done. This is another person with MS, and this is an MRI scan showing the lesions in the brain. This was back in 2001. 7 years he was living without intermediate frequencies or much lower levels, and you can see that the sclerosis has disappeared. And this is not a placebo effect, it's not psychological, it's really happening to people. And so this is good news. If you reduce your exposure, you can actually recover. The second example I'd like to give is dealing with diabetes, and we know that diabetes is becoming a pandemic. The number of type 2 diabetics especially is increasing. Now, if you're either a type 1 or a type 2 diabetic and you suffer from electrohypersensitivity, I've classified that as a type E diabetic, which means there's an environmental trigger that will affect your blood sugar. And I'm going to show you just one example. This is a 57-year-old woman who's a type 2 diabetic, doesn't take any medication. This shows you her blood sugar. And the way that she recovers her blood sugar is by exercise. She goes for a 20-minute walk. And in a 20-minute walk, you can see here that her blood sugar before the walk, shown in gray, and after a 20-minute walk, shown in green, does exactly what it's supposed to do. It comes down. We're using up the glucose. When she does a walk and is exposed to Agent X, this is what happens to her blood sugar. It actually goes up, and it goes up quite consistently. Agent X happens to be a treadmill that produces intermediate frequencies and high magnetic fields as well. Third example is looking at live blood, and this is my own blood that I'm going to be showing you. My home, my work environment has low EMFs. I did that deliberately because I know what the long-term consequences of exposure are. And then I exposed my body to 3 different agents, and this is what happened to the live blood. Now at the bottom here, you can see the red blood cells are aggregating, they're sticking together, and when they stick together in a coin-like formation, we call that rouleau. So Agent X happens to be pulsed electromagnetic field mat that is used to improve circulation. And you can see how the blood cells are actually staying apart. It actually increases the electrical potential charge on the cells, so they're repelling each other. Agent Y happens to be a computer that's not in Wi-Fi mode. So this is just a regular computer plugged in using Ethernet connections, and Agent Z is a cordless phone. So when my blood is exposed to this, it goes into rouleau formation, which is not good. The consequences of this are actually quite obvious, I think, to everyone here, but there are some other more serious consequences. The red blood cell aggregation has been associated with things like diabetes, stroke, heart attacks, Alzheimer's disease, and quite a few other things as well. And the symptoms that people get if their blood sticks together are these. And so one of the benefits, I think, of live blood is that we might be able to use it as a diagnostic for people who are electrically hypersensitive. It won't work for everyone, but it will work for a handful of people. The last example I'd like to give you is dealing with heart attacks or anxiety attacks. Many of the people I work with who are electrically hypersensitive tell me that they go into a certain environment and suddenly their heart will start palpitating. And so what we've done is, we can measure the heart. So we've done a study with 25 people from Colorado, and this is showing their heart rate variability results, showing the number of beats of their heart rate, 58, 56, and 58 beats during 3 3-minute segments. Now, this particular person was exposed to the Agent X during segment 2, and you can see there's virtually no difference, no change in the heart rate or the heart rate variability, and this person was non-responsive. Here we have a very different response. This person is in a supine position, so they're lying down. We turn on Agent X, and their heartbeat goes from 68 to 122 beats per minute when they're exposed, and it goes back to the normal baseline for them very, very quickly. And obviously, this is a highly responsive person, and what they're experiencing is tachycardia. Now, this was one of the more extreme examples. Usually, the heart rate will only go up 10 or 20 units rather than a doubling. And the agent here was a cordless phone base station. So for people in the audience who have one of these cordless phones, one of the things you should realize, it's emitting 24/7, whether you're using the phone or not. And if you have it next to your bed, you're exposed to microwave radiations on a regular basis. Now, one of the concerns we have about 2.4 gigahertz, which is the frequency of that phone, is that kids now that are attending schools where Wi-Fi has been introduced, they're beginning to suffer from headaches, all sorts of problems, including heart problems. And in one of the schools in Ontario, when the parents started talking, we found out that after Wi-Fi was introduced into the school, quite a few of the kids had heart issues to the point where they were going to their pediatric cardiologist. And what the school did is they installed defibrillators. And when parents asked them if they would simply turn off the Wi-Fi for a month to see if there was any difference, they simply refused to do that. How many people have EHS? Well, I think about 3% of the population has severe symptoms and about 35% has mild to moderate symptoms. In the United States, that if those numbers are even close, we're talking about 9 to 100 million people. So we're talking about an incredibly large population. In Europe, European Union, it's even worse. Now, I know kids and children's health is a really big issue here. And, you know, one of the things that I would absolutely love to come out of nnEHS is some warnings so that people can use the technology safely or in a safer manner. For example, putting it in your pocket is not a good idea. Being pregnant and using your Wi-Fi enabled computer on your lap. We have baby monitors that basically work 24/7, emitting the infant to microwave radiation. In Europe, you can get sound-activated baby monitors. They're illegal in North America. We can't bring them in. The FCC actually prevented them from coming in. We used to have them available. And when people try to import them, the companies there will say, we can't send these to North America. So that needs to be changed. We have Wi-Fi in schools, and we have kids holding microwave transmitters next to their head. We can't continue to ignore this. Levels are going up, and they're going to continue to go up. And I say that because last year, the Federal Communication actually made $45 billion selling parts of the spectrum to the wireless industry. And one of the things they've come up with are RF emitting thermometers. So you put a soother in a child's mouth, and that will send the cell phone information about what the baby's temperature is. They have the same thing for diapers. The diaper will send the information to the mother's cell phone telling them that the diaper is wet. So if we don't want cell phones next to the head, we certainly want a microwave transmitter inside an infant's mouth. We've had issues in the past, and we've resolved some of these already. E-smog, I think, is going to be the next big issue, and there's issues with both reproduction and cancer that I haven't talked about. Now, we've done some sperm studies as well. This hasn't been published yet, but there are over 20 reports showing that it affects sperm and causes DNA damage. And this is just an example of sperm at the top left after 1 hour, and at the bottom that's been exposed to RF radiation, and after 5 hours on the right. And I think if you look at the sperm at the lower right, you can see that those guys aren't doing very well.
It's so beautiful, you and me. We meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. Sometimes you need to go and take a step back to see the truth around you. From a distance you can tell